Best Life 2025. Saints, today I just want to speak to someone so that we don't fall in the trap of Naomi. The Bible says that Naomi and her husband and her two sons, they moved from the land of Israel and went to the land of Moabite. And the Bible says that shortly afterwards, her husband dies. Her two sons, who were also married to two lovely women, Orpah and Ruth, also died. And the Bible says that as time went on, Naomi realized that, or overheard that, God had visited the children of Israel. And so she decided she was going to go back to Israel. And so she said to her two daughters-in-laws that I'm going to go back to my people. And one of them decided to go back with her. That was Ruth, and Orpah decided to stay. But today, the message that I want someone to get is, there is a will of God and there is a permissible will of God. It is important that for you to live your best life, you must always be in the will of God and not the permissible will of God. What do I mean? There are certain things that you want to do that God will not stop you because he's giving you the wisdom and the ability and the choice to do what you want to do. But it is not everything that is right for us. And so in this story, she went away from under the covering of God, under the covenant of God, under the place of protection, and she went into a foreign land, which is the land of Moabite. And I don't believe that God sent her into the land of Moabite, because we see what happens to her when she goes to the land of Moabite. She loses her husband, she loses son number one, she loses son number two, and none of these had children. And so she doesn't even have any descendants. But then we see her come out of the place, the permissible will of God, and gets a revelation and goes into the will of God. And the Bible says that Ruth that went with her relatives then was able to marry Ruth, who was Boaz, and that is how she ended up having a son. And then this son and she then was written into the genealogy of Jesus. It is important that you remain in the will of God. It is important that you seek the will of God concerning everything that you do. It is important that you allow God to direct your step. It is important that the fact that something it's okay to do, or because God says you can do what you like, and because God has given you your will and giving you your own choices, doesn't mean we should make certain choices. It is important as children of God that we will seek the will of God and try and understand the will of the Father and walk in alignment. We see the prodigal son experience something similar. He said to his father that I want my share of the inheritance and I'm going to go. His father grants him his inheritance, gives him half of his fortune, and he goes away. He goes away into a foreign land. Again, he moves from under the covering of the father and moves from the place of protection and goes to a foreign land. And he fell in with a lot of waves and strays. And that is what happens when you leave the covering of God and you leave the protective place of God. You then move into a different covenant and into a different alignment, and you step out of the will of God and out of the protection of God. And the Bible says he goes and he falls in with the wrong crowd, and they help him squander all of his inheritance and then leave him for dead. And so he found job with a local citizen, and this local citizen gives him a job looking after pigs. And the Bible says that he was so hungry to the point where he was about to eat the pig food. And he says, hang on, I'm going to go back to my father's house, because even in my father's house, the servants have food to eat. And he goes back. And the Bible says the father was waiting for him with open arms. And the father takes him back and embraces him. And so I want to encourage you that the fact that God is giving you choice, never choose the permissible will of God, but choose the will of God for your life. If you want to live your best life, always make sure that you are in the will of God. And God bless you.